Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and on this video this afternoon I am going to be giving you an update on some more transfer news, and I'm going to give you the list of players who Manchester United could sign in the summer, because we have got a lot of players on our current agenda, because there's still deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed. So, one of the players that Man United could get in the summer is Koulibaly from Napoli. Now, as you all know, I have been reading recent reports about him. It has been revealed from the mainstream media that Koulibaly has got a £127 million release clause in his Napoli contract, and he will be active in June of this summer. So, obviously, Man United have been long admirers of Koulibaly. Don't forget, we was relentlessly, linked with him last summer. But obviously, we didn't get him last summer because Napoli had no intentions of selling the player. So, this is why we didn't get him. Basically, I think Napoli wanted a lot of money for him last summer. But I think last summer we had a bid turned down for Koulibaly. I think we had around, a 90 or £95 million bid turned down. But if we've got any chances, revert back to what I said, if we've got any chances of getting Koulibaly this summer, then obviously, we've got to, meet his £127 million release clause. So we didn't get Koulibaly last summer, so instead we got Harry Maguire in for £80 million. Of course, Harry Maguire is our most expensive. It's our second most expensive signing, and he is the most expensive defender in the world and that. And I've got to say, I think he's done pretty well since his arrival from Leicester last summer. He's had a few bad games as Harry Maguire. Obviously, he has got the captaincy on a permanent basis, reflecting on Ashley Young's departure in January and that. But I think the club made the right decision by giving Harry Maguire, the captaincy on a permanent basis, because he does show great leadership, does Maguire. But, even though we recommended Harry Maguire in, we still are conceding goals. So maybe it would be beneficial from our perspective if we did recommend another centre-half in. Imagine that, Koulibaly alongside, Harry Maguire in our back line. They would make a fantastic partnership. But there's also several other clubs that are in for Koulibaly. So if we could get another centre-half in, that definitely, would be very beneficial. Koulibaly, of course, hasn't played in the Premier League as yet. He is highly experienced. I think he's nearly 30 now. Is he 28 or 29 or something like that? He has enjoyed around, 5 years with Napoli? I think he's now into his current 6th season with them. But if Napoli, did obviously, sell him, they would make a huge profit on the player. Because obviously, Napoli only paid around £6 or £7 million from Genk back in 2014. And obviously, before he was at Genk, he was currently at Metz. But I would, like, Koulibaly at Manchester United. So he's one of the players, we could go in for in the summer. Now, number 2 is Jack Grealish. Now, I've been updating you about Jack Grealish on a regular basis. Now, as I updated you yesterday, reports were coming out from the mainstream media saying that Manchester United had agreed personal terms with Jack Grealish over a summer transfer. So, realistically, he could be our first signing in the summer and our 6th signing overall under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. And that is if still Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is Manchester United manager in the summer. So reportedly his preferences moved to Man United is Jack Grealish. Reportedly he's been searching for a house in Manchester. It has been revealed that Jack Grealish has got around a £45 million release clause in his Aston Villa contract. So reportedly we'd have to pay this £45 million, or maybe we'd have to pay more than £45 million. Maybe we'd have to pay around £60 million for Jack Grealish. The likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona and Man City have expressed their interest, but he's keen on making a move to Manchester United is Jack Grealish. And I would be excited about the prospect of Jack Grealish coming in, playing alongside, Bruno Fernandes in our midfield, because I do believe they complement each other fantastically well. We're basically seeing Jack Grealish as an adequate replacement for Paul Pogba, because I'm very convinced that Paul Pogba is going to be leaving the football club in the summer. But, Jack Grealish, I think he's on currently £100,000 a week at the moment with Aston Villa. £100,000 a week at the moment with Aston Villa. But obviously, if he comes to Man United in the summer, then obviously, we'll be able to increase his wages. And he's under contract with Aston Villa until 2023, so he's still got around 3 years left on his deal. He can play as an attacking mid. He can also play as a winger, can Jack Grealish. Obviously, he's well proven in the Premier League. Up until this point, he has spent the entirety of his career with Aston Villa. Obviously, he's been a Villa player since the age of 6, progressing up there, academy and that. And obviously made his senior debut in 2014. But I think since he broke into the senior squad, he has become an integral. He has become an integral part of Aston Villa's team. As a Jack Grealish and that. So if I did sign him, I would be, very, very satisfied. I also believe that he had a loan spell with Notts County. So yeah, reportedly he's agreed the personal terms with the club. No fee has yet been agreed. But, if the reports are to be believed what they're saying, then, he will be coming to Manchester United in the summer, will Jack Grealish. Obviously, James Maddison is actually not our preference over Jack Grealish. But like I mentioned, James Maddison is closing in on signing a new contract with Leicester. So I'm very sceptical that we'll get James Maddison in the summer and that. But, yeah, so here's another one. Now, Jadon Sancho, he's a player I think Man United are going to go in for in the summer. Now, a number of clubs have been interested in Jadon Sancho. Liverpool and Chelsea have been in for Jadon Sancho. Obviously, if we go in for him in the summer, he is going to cost the club a substantial amount of money. We'll probably have to pay in the excess of around £100 million to convince Borussia Dortmund to offload him. Now, it did say a couple of days ago in the media that we are, emerged as the favourites to sign Jadon Sancho in the summer. Obviously, Jadon Sancho has enjoyed a difficult season with Borussia Dortmund. Because obviously he's been dropped in quite a lot of games. But I think analysed his performances, he's enjoyed a good couple of, years with Borussia Dortmund. Obviously, Borussia Dortmund did get him from next to nothing. They only paid around £6 or £7 million in from Man City. But, obviously, analysed his performances in the couple of years with Dortmund, his valuation has persistently grown. So, yeah, so Borussia Dortmund get £100 million for him, then obviously, they're going to make, a huge profit on the player. Obviously, he's still got a contract with Borussia Dortmund until 2022. Like I said, he did serve a couple of years at Man City, but the main explanation why he left Manchester City is because, he never got any first-team opportunities. Obviously, before he was at City, he was at Watford, and he is only at the age of 19. And like I said, Solskjaer still wants to continue the policy of recruiting young players into Manchester United, and he would fit our transfer strategy perfectly with Jadon Sancho, and I think he'd fit our system well. He's predominantly a right winger. I think we need a right winger, to be fair. He can also play centrally, but I think Sancho would complement our attacking line well. I'd be excited about the prospect of him playing alongside the likes of Rashford, James, Anthony Martial. So I would be excited about the prospect of Jadon Sancho coming in. But I do believe we're probably going to spend a substantial amount in this summer on, recruiting more players in. Like I mentioned, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got recommended in, he has, recruited 5 players in 3 transfer windows. Obviously, like I mentioned last summer, Solskjaer brought Daniel James in for £15 million. Hasn't been so good in the last month, but I think prior to that he has been a revelation as Daniel James. I'm surprised in a way because I didn't expect him to play as many games as he has done, but he has played a lot of games this season. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, we paid around £50 million for him. Very, very good right back is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Obviously now he's our first choice right back. But very, very good player. There's some aspects of his game that need to improve. I think, he needs to improve in terms of attacking intent because he doesn't show much in terms of attacking intent. But on the other hand, his defensive abilities are good. His distribution's very, very good. So, very, very good signing, Bissaka. And of course, we got Harry Maguire in for £80 million. And in January, Man United recommended Bruno Fernandes in for £68 million. He's our 4th most expensive signing, I think. And he's going to be here at least for the next 5.5 years. And there's also an option of a further year, so it's like 6.5 years. And of course, we did get Odion Ighalo in on loan until the end of the season. Obviously, Odion Ighalo is a good cover-up for Rashford, because Rashford's going to be out for at least the next couple of months. and also too is a good alternative to Anthony Martial is, Odin Migalo. So yeah, so they're the players that Solskjaer has recruited in since he got recommended in to Manchester United and that. I think Bruno Fernandes, revert back to what I said, he's going to do really, really well. He was unhappy with his debut, against Wolves. I thought he did really, really well in his debut against Wolves. Like I said, had the most touches, I think created the most chances in that. And he needs to stay in his predominant position. I've got a bit of an element of concern about the usage of the player. Is Solskjaer going to keep in his predominant position? He could be a liability in a defensive midfield role. So this is why we need to keep Bruno Fernandes in his predominant position. He will be making his second appearance against Chelsea after the winter break, of course. But Solskjaer said, the winter break is a useful period, especially for our new incomings and that. But I think he'll do well at Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes. And I also think Odion Ighalo will do well. I do believe he'll get his opportunities in that. I think he should play in that number 9 role, Odion Ighalo, because I think he's an out-and-out number 9 anywhere. And, he's fighting for Anthony Martial's role because obviously Martial's been playing in that number 9 role this season. He predominantly plays out on the left, does Martial. That's where he's been operating in the vast majority of his career so far with Man United. It's only been this season he's been playing in that number 9 role. Obviously, he's received a lot of criticism, Martial, reflecting on his bad run of performances. I think we should drop him completely, like I said, or we should rotate him, or we should revert him, back to the left-hand side, which is his current predominant position. So I can't really say if I get rid of Martial, yet. If he continues a bad run of performances, then I'd get rid of Anthony Martial and all of that. A lot of players, though, have left since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. Take that into account. I think around 9 senior players have left since his current arrival. But without a shadow of a doubt, there's still a lot of deadwood at the football club. And, we need to consider getting rid of more players in the summer. I think we need to get rid of around 4 or 5 players at least in the summer. And that definitely because there's still problematic players at the football club and that. These still problematic players at the football club. But, like I've said, guys, we need to see a variety of changes at the football club. There's not only a problem, with the management. Obviously a lot of our fans have got doubts about the executive and the club's ownership. So, like I said, Ed Woodward and the Glazers need to go. We also need to get rid of our board because our board have been a liability for several years. There's also problems with the coaching staff. So there is a hell of a lot of problems at Manchester United, and I don't like the way the football club has been run in the last 6 or 7 years anywhere. And, there's a lot of cultural problems, and we need someone to come in to change the culture of the football club and that. And, this is what, Manchester United do need to do. Because, we're not in that commanding position that we should be in. We're sitting, 8th now in the Premier League, reflecting on Everton's 3-1 win against Crystal Palace recently. But, surprisingly, we are still in that top 4 race. We are 6 points behind top 4 at the moment. Obviously, that game against Chelsea after the winter break, could actually decide who finishes in the top 4 and that. If we beat Chelsea, we're still in that top 4 race. If Chelsea win, then I'm going to fully disregard that top 4. But Chelsea have been so inconsistent this season. This is the only main explanation why we're in that top 4 race. There's a few teams in that top 4 race. You can say Sheffield United are in it because they're above us. You can say Tottenham are still in it. Arsenal, they're not in the top 4 race. So there's a few teams going for that current top 4 and that. And that top 4 is one of our ambitions this season. We've got to get that top 4 because I did say, didn't I, at the start of this season that our expectations this season will be to finish in that top 4. But I do believe overall anyway, our aspirations will be that top 4 in the next couple of seasons and that. And obviously, there's a few other ambitions we've got. Obviously, it's very imperative that we can get some silverware on the board this season because we have lacked silverware in the last 6 or 7 years. We've only won 3 major honours since Ferguson's retirement in 2013. Won the FA Cup under Louis van Gaal and won the Europa League and the League Cup under Jose Mourinho, and that of course was in his first season. So we need to try and get some silverware on the board, and Solskjaer not too long ago spoke about the importance of us getting silverware on the board. We can win the FA Cup because we are into the 5th round against Derby. We can win the Europa League, plus that's another route to Champions League football. Obviously, Man United have revealed that, we'll only sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on one condition. These reports were coming out yesterday, like I updated you, and it said, we'll only sack him if Manchester United finish out of the top 6 this season, and of course, if we don't qualify for the Champions League. So Manchester United have made this clear. Manchester United have made this clear. So if we, qualify for the Champions League this season, and we do finish in the top 4, then I do believe the club then will be determined to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer another full season at Manchester United, because at the moment this is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first full season at the club. Solskjaer, of course, has been at Manchester United now 14 months, almost 14 months, and he's been permanent boss for almost 11 months. And that's one mistake Manchester United did make, was giving Solskjaer the job on a permanent basis. But the main explanation why we give Solskjaer the job on a permanent basis is reflecting, what he did when he was the interim manager, because he did really, really well in that 3-month period when he was the interim manager, because like I mentioned, the results were good, the performances were good, and he got the best out of these group of players and that. But I do feel sorry for him in a way, because I think, the club have put Solskjaer in a very, very difficult position and that. In a very, very difficult position. But, obviously our sponsors as well, Adidas and Chevrolet, reportedly have got substantial clauses in their contract. And obviously if we don't, finish in the top 4 this season, it will reduce our spending power in the summer, so it could affect our transfer business basically in the summer if we don't qualify for the Champions League this season and that. But I do believe, from my own perception, Solskjaer's had long enough at the football club. He has been under intense pressure for the vast majority of this season, because we have enjoyed our worst start to a Premier League season for 30 years. So up until this point, we've never, been as bad, as this in the Premier League era and that. And as far as I'm aware, Solskjaer is the worst manager that Manchester United have had, as far as I know anyway. I think he's as bad as Ron Atkinson, to be quite honest with you, but I haven't seen any improvements under Solskjaer than what I saw under Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, and of course David Moyes. And Solskjaer's aware that he's got many expectations to exceed, and I just feel as though that the expectations are too high for him at Manchester United, and it is a transition period. And like Solskjaer was saying at the beginning of the year, he said he's hopeful that Manchester United can get through this transition period, basically, in that. And, it wouldn't really cost us that much to sack Solskjaer. I think it revealed that we'd only have to pay around $5 million to get rid of him. That's £15 million less than what we paid to get rid of Mourinho, because we paid around £20 million to get rid of Jose Mourinho and that. So it would cost us around £5 million to get rid of Solskjaer. But, he's got 2.5 years left on his current deal. Obviously, I'm very, very sceptical that he will see out his 2.5 years he's got remaining on his contract and that, unless, we dramatically improve. But he's not the long-term solution for Manchester United. He's definitely not the long-term solution for Manchester United and that. And like I've said to you, whether his managerial tenure at the club works out or not, we'll never forget what he's done for the club, because he was a great player for 11 years. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. So he's got that proven pedigree as a player. But I think as a manager, he's just totally comparison. He's too inexperienced. Obviously, before he was at Man United, he was at Mould. I think he won a couple of trophies with Mould. Obviously, before he was at Mould, he was at Cardiff. And his record at Cardiff was disastrous, to be quite honest with you. But, he's not the right manager for Manchester United, as I think you all know anywhere. He's not the right man. But, my element of concerns about Solskjaer is that he's been tactically naive for the vast majority of this season. His substitutions are questionable. And he just doesn't have that winning mentality. He just doesn't have it. And he's not going to bring that fear factor back to the club. Because let's be honest, that fear factor's not been there anywhere since the Ferguson era. And, Solskjaer believed from his own perception that if he's given the time that he's demanding, he can emulate into the next year and Klopp, he can build a team like Liverpool. But it's not going to happen. And I do believe that, even though we've been inconsistent for several years now, we've got the resources and the backing of the club to get the right calibre players into Manchester United that can elevate us forward. We can do that, because we are still one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've had so much success over the generations. But You know, it's just Solskjaer. That's my element of concern, basically, in that. And and something else that's got to improve our recruitment, because our recruitment's been very, very poor, at least for the last 6 or 7 years. But, for us to get back, for us to emulate to Man City or Liverpool's level, it's going to take us several years to emulate to their level. It's going to take us several years because I think City have finished higher than us in the last 5 or 6 years, haven't they, in that? But it will take a long rebuilding process for us to get, back to, City and Liverpool's level. It's going to take a hell of a long time. But yeah, it is going to take a hell of a long time and that. But like I mentioned, back to what I said, we finish out the top 6 this season. We don't get European football for next season, then Solskjaer will be sacked as Manchester United manager. I think, Ed Woodward has currently confirmed if Solskjaer is to be sacked, he will be the 4th permanent manager to be sacked since the Alex Ferguson era. But it's not always the right solution, persistently sacking managers, because, Manchester United are not really known for a sacking football club anywhere. But if Solskjaer's sacked, it's very, very imminent that Mauricio Pochettino will be Manchester United's next manager. Like I updated you this morning, and I've updated you at least in the last couple of days, Pochettino is interested in taking the managerial role at Manchester United, and I do believe he will be our manager next season. If we do recommend him in, it won't be until the end of the season anywhere, because like I said to you, if he is to come to Man United or any other club before the end of the season, Tottenham will be entitled to £10 million in compensation. With Pochettino, I'm not saying we'd win the league or would mount any kind of title challenge up, but I just think we'd look a much, much better outfit under Mauricio Pochettino's guidance, because he's totally comparison to Solskjaer. He's a better manager than Solskjaer. He's well proven in the Premier League. He's well proven in the Premier League, and I just believe, his philosophy would be right for the football club. Pochettino enjoyed a good 5.5-year tenure with Tottenham. Obviously, he progressed Tottenham to their first ever Champions League final last season. He guided them to fourth place finishes, was it? I think he got them, runners up one season. In his first season with Tottenham, he progressed them to the League Cup final and that. Obviously, I think spent £200 million in the 5.5 years he was there. It was something like that anywhere. But he is a very, very good manager, and he's also good at developing young players. But Pochettino did reveal when he got sacked from Tottenham last year, he wanted an immediate return to management. But I think he's keen on, staying in the Premier League and that. Because obviously he's managed 3 clubs so far in his managerial career. He managed Espanyol, Southampton. He did well at Southampton because he guided Southampton to their highest ever finish in the Premier League. And of course, he managed Tottenham. So he's been managing now for just over a decade as Pochettino. Pochettino has been in negotiations with the club. Obviously, it did say that if he was to come in, he wanted to take control of the transfers. And he also wanted, Ed Woodward out of the football club. So this is what, Mauricio Pochettino was demanding earlier on in the season. Don't forget, recently Atletico Madrid have been in for him, because they're enjoying a difficult season. Bayern Munich were in for him earlier on in the season. Real Madrid have been long admirers of Pochettino. At one point, Barcelona were in for him when they sacked Ernesto Valverde. But yeah, I'd love Pochettino at Manchester United. If he was to come in, he would be our 5th permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. But if we did recommend Pochettino in, though, take into account, none that Man United squad would be his. He'd be inheriting, the players that Solskjaer's brought in. He'd be inheriting, the players that Mourinho's brought in. Because the vast majority of these players are Jose Mourinho's. Obviously there's still players even from the Van Gaal era. A lot of players left from the Van Gaal era, but there's still some here now. And obviously, there's still players here. Well, it's only a matter of here now, isn't there, from the David Moyes era, because, Moyes only recruited 2 players in, but Fellaini left back in January 2019. And there's still a couple of players here from the Alex Ferguson era and that. But as it stands now, Solskjaer's inheriting them, so this is what I mean. This is, what I definitely mean. I think, Man United need to definitely recommend a manager in with a proven pedigree, a manager at the top level. On the other hand, not always the right solution, because we've already had, 2 managers, at the elite level, and that's Louis Van Gaal and Jose Mourinho on that. But, we need to see a lot of changes at the club. It was a shame last summer you know, to be fair, that we didn't get a director of footballing, you know, because last summer there was quite a few former Man United players, you know, linked with that director's role. Linked with that current director's role and that. Obviously, you know, Manchester United have had a lot of injuries this season, but that's not excusable, you know, for how inconsistent Man United have been. But, you know, now players are coming back from injury. You know, Solskjaer's provided us with some good news regarding McTominay, where he's recovering now from injury. He's recently been back in training because McTominay's been out with a knee injury. Obviously, you know, McTominay is part of the warm weather training camp in Spain, so he could be back for Chelsea. So when he's back in that midfield, that will be very beneficial, because before he got injured, McTominay, he was doing really, really well for Manchester United. And, you know, so he's coming back, you know, Tuanzebe. I think he's on his way back because he's part of the warm weather training camp in Spain. I thought before Tuanzebe got injured, you know, he was playing really, really well for us. Obviously, you know, we've still got Rashford out, like I mentioned. He's out with a back injury for at least the next couple of months. Like I said, Rashford's been one of our best players this season. You know, Pogba, of course, is, you know, still out. You know, he's not part of the warm weather training camp because he's continuing his rehabilitation from his ankle injury. Paul Pogba is intending on leaving the club in the summer. He's already told his teammates that he will be leaving Manchester United in the summer, will Paul Pogba. I think, you know, want around 150 million for him in the summer, so we have slashed around 30 million pounds off his, you know, valuation, because reflecting back last summer, we wanted around 180 million for Paul Pogba. Real Madrid were reluctant to pay it. You know, Real Madrid were relentlessly linked to him last summer. Last summer, his preference was a move to Real Madrid. There was also talks about him making a return back to Turin. Pogba did enjoy 4 good years in Turin and that, but the vast majority of his performances at Man United have been totally comparison. And that, but yeah, I think he will leave in the summer, you know, will Paul Pogba, because his appearances have been limited this season due to, obviously, you know, the injuries he's had. You know, recently his ankle cast has been removed, which is very, very good news. But I think he's only played around 8 games this season for Manchester United. So in the summer, I think he'll go to Real Madrid. If he doesn't go to Real Madrid, I think he'll make a return to Juventus. That's what I think Paul Pogba will do. He wants to leave basically to rejuvenate his career. Some United fans would want to keep Paul Pogba. Some United fans would want to see him go. I think if we can get Jack Grealish in the summer anyway, we can afford to let Paul Pogba go. You know, but, you know, still, imagine Paul Pogba and Bruno Fernandes as a partnership in our midfield. I think, you know, they would complement each other fantastically well, to be quite honest with you. But Pogba, I think, is now anyway into the final year of his contract. You know, there's an option to extend it by a further year, but we won't extend it, you know, by a further year, because he will be moved on in the summer, will Paul Pogba. So yeah, he's still out with injury. You know, Bailly and Fosu-Mensah, don't forget, have just come back from injury. Since they've come back from injury, you know, they haven't played. But I do believe at some point they'll get given their chances. They're good as backup options, are Bailly and Fosu-Mensah. Also add Phil Jones into the equation there. He's good as a backup, you know, to Lindelof and Harry Maguire, who are our first choice centre-backs, basically. So take that into account. You know, Diego Dalot's just come back from injury. You know, he's sustained quite a few injuries this season. I don't really have a perception on Dalot at the moment because, you know, he hasn't really had many opportunities because, like I mentioned, he's been out with injury and that. Obviously, Luke Shaw, you know, he's sustained quite a few injuries. He's had a lot of injuries as a Man United player. And, you know, he's struggling for that consistency, Luke Shaw. He's well experienced and Solskjaer may go on that. But I think Brandon Williams now is a much better solution because obviously he's our first choice left back is Brandon Williams. You know, so possibly Luke Shaw could be, you know, moved on in the summer and that. But there's still definitely no more players that need to leave Man United. Like I said, you know, Jones, Matic, Lingard, Pereira, Chong, Luke Shaw. I think these are the players that do need to be moved on in the summer. But, you know, on the other hand, you know, there's still players I would be determined to keep. You know, I'd keep Rashford, definitely. I'd keep McTominay. I'd keep Fred because I think recently Fred has rejuvenated himself. You know, Lingard, I'd get rid of Lingard, obviously, because he's been so inconsistent as Jesse Lingard. I'd, you know, keep Lindelof. I'd keep the 3 signings that were recommended in last summer. I'd probably still keep De Gea, even though he hasn't been so good in the last year or so. you know, but he still had enjoyed a fantastic career with Man United. You know, De Gea's now into his 9th season at the football club. So yeah. So we need to get more signings in the summer. So if we could get, you know, if we don't get Koulibaly, if we could get Jack Grealish and we could get Jadon Sancho, I would be really, really happy. Solskjaer, I think, wants to recommend the striker in the summer as well, don't forget. So, you know, we will currently see what currently happens. So, anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again soon.